Now I will request Professor Zhang Yanqiu, Deputy Dean of the Institute for a Community with Shared Future, Director of Africa Communication Research Center, to kindly present her speech. The topic is democracy is not a special right reserved to an individual country.
Okay, it's my greatest honor to have this opportunity and to attend the conference in the most largest university in Pakistan. And first of all, let me to show my greatest respect to all the audiences, professors, and also the other researchers from Pakistan, from Lahore. And yes, I'm from Communication University of China, and today I would like to share a topic that is democracy is not a special right reserved to an individual country, but actually this is a given topic. I regard it as a very challenging, because we know that around the world, one of the most controversial concepts is a democracy. There are so many dispute, disagreement, and even debate, a lot of debate over this concept, democracy. So, what is democracy? Is one's democracy? Is another's democracy? Okay, why we have so many disagreement over democracy? And of course, around the world, there are a lot of riots, lot of demonstrations, protests, with the name of democracy. And of course, as you know, that China was criticized as a country without democracy. And we are regarded as country as autocracy, okay? So, but there are also another group of researchers, they say, democracy should be a continuous process, not something that happens every 4 or 5 years. So which means democracy does not equal to election based on everybody has a vote. So what is democracy? But according to some researchers, they say there are 10 characteristics of a democracy, such as it's based on constitutions, we have to follow the majority rules, and we have to protect individual rights, like freedom of expression, and media should be independent. If the media are not independent, no democracy in the country like in China, because I do media studies that in China, most of the media are government owned. Okay, and it seems that, for example, in China, we don't have a Twitter, Facebook, or the other popular international social media, but we enjoy our, WeChat, our domestic social media, and seems there are a lot of, misunderstandings and bias against China. So I know that I once I did a survey with, Mr. Khalid about the young people's warfare against China. Okay, so one of the discourse they often use to criticize China, that is the democracy. They say China is not a democratic country. Especially, those group of Western countries led by the United States, they organize a summit, which is called Summit of Democracy. That has been run for 2 years, and they're going to run for the 3rd year. And let's say who in and who out from Biden's democracy summit. I invite you to watch this map. And actually, the United States, those are the countries invited to join the, Democracy Summit. They are a lot of European countries, like Indian. I tell you, Pakistan was also invited, but Pakistan refused to attend. Okay, and so another map, it's very clear. Even some organization, I think that's a Democracy Without Borders. That's a totally propaganda organization, and they rank the countries, whether your country is a full democracy, is a flawed democracy, or is authoritarian regimes. China regarded as authoritarian regimes, but Pakistan here, okay, it's better than China. And but the point is, why we were ranked, we were evaluated by the other standards. Okay, so that's why some researchers ask, why is Biden doing another pointless summit for democracy? And the answer is to divide the world against Russia and China by using the more universal value of democracy. But actually, it is not universal value. It is only American value, and such a democracy is only the Western liberal democracy. Okay, so Western countries were faced with stagnant economies, and the society is quite divided. It's not that inclusive. It's a divided society. We all understand that. So there's a saying that liberal democracy is decline, and the red fist is a red one because it's maybe from Russia and from China. So let's say I invite you to watch this, video and to see how the top economics from the United States, actually from University of Columbus, to his understanding of American democracy. But actually, this is on the, Democracy Summit in Greece.
My experience is that different societies have very deep-rooted political cultures and traditions that extend far back in history, and for good and for bad, and that these cultures are real, they are persistent, they are different, they don't rank on an easy scale that this is the best and this is the worst like we want to do. And we need an approach, very much like what you said, and agree with it. There are different narratives that are held, and these different narratives have merit. And the solution in a world of different narratives is to speak with each other more than we do. We in the United States, and I say we, what I really mean is our political elites, do not speak with Chinese political elites except to point fingers or to yell at them or to do other things. We certainly don't even shake hands with Russian leaders or diplomats. But I've lived my whole career for 42 years of active duty listening to different narratives and seeing those perspectives from different sides and finding a lot of merit in the various positions and saying if you would sit down to speak with each other, we'd actually get somewhere. So let me be specific. Okay. China looks today not completely different from the Han Dynasty, a centralized administrative state. And with Confucian culture, with a tradition of excellence of the Mandarins. When I speak with Chinese senior officials, which I do often, they are the best informed professionals I know in the world. When I look at my own country, the United States, it is a semi-democratic, white-dominated, hierarchical, racist society that aims to preserve privilege by the elites. That's how it was formed in 1787. It was a slave-owning, genocidal country, killing Native Americans for a white culture. But amazingly, it still looks that way, although we're much more diverse now than we were.
Let me ask you this, because this is,
I want
okay.
to point out that these are deep cultural distinctions.
Right.
But we shouldn't just simplify because we say democracy. Well, and, you know, these are, yes, it's important. What's
Okay. Anyway, I know the last word he said is that, you know, American maybe adopt, you know, democracy inside the country, but there are also a lot of problems in the American. But outside, internationally, America is the country never practiced democracy. The U.S. always want to have the final say and will never talk with the others. So in that case, you know, the democracy has been used as a democracy, as a sort of, you know, narrative of value diplomacy. They use such of a value diplomacy to rank China, Russia, Pakistan, and the other countries. So they set the standard, and so that's the conclusion of the professor. So that's why I will invite you to be, you know, critical and also to be creative when we think about democracy. Why I say critical, but we have to fully understand democracy is only, first at the beginning, is only one of the, it's only the fundamental, you know, political system in the US, which fit the United States. But how about the other countries? And a lot of people say, yeah, we fight for democracy, but democracy for what? Is that democracy is the final goal, or the better life is the final goal for the country? Okay, so we have to be very clear about democracy. And under democracy, a lot of things they say we fight for free media, independent media, freedom of speech. But the point is, the country polarized. And in a lot of countries, they have a free, liberal media, but the media are not that free. They just, you know, very closely related to certain parties. It's not free at all. But when we talk about democracy, we have to be creative. We have to be, you know, realistic, and we understand what my country or what I really need. It's not just vote. It's not just vote. So that's why in China, we support democracy. We regard our country as a democracy country, but in the name, whole process people's democracy. So in that case, we know democracy is not an omelet, you know, to be used for decoration or to criticize the other country. It should be solve the problem of the people they want to solve. Okay, so it is not feasible for China to copy the political system of other countries. That is our Chinese, you know, political wisdom. And that's why, you know, in China in recent years, we have, you know, run the country so successfully and stably for many, many years. But now we realize we are doing the whole process democracy. Okay, what is the whole process democracy? Like President Xi mentioned, if the people are awakened only at the time of voting and become dormant afterwards, if the people only listen to big slogans during the election campaigns but have no say afterward, that is not democracy. So in China, you know, democracy is the most effective way because we believe that the democracy, you know, in China, the whole process democracy, including democratic election, yes, we do elect, we do election, and we do have a consultation, you know, system, and which help us for the government to do decision making. You know, for our National Congress, along with our National Congress, we have, you know, National Consultation, you know, Congress at the same time. And a lot of, you know, bills was raised of that. And so we focus on the, you know, domestic governance and security. So generally we think we are doing, you know, also we do doing consultative democracy. For example, in the year 2016, more than 1 billion registered voters have elected close 2.5 billion deputies to the county and town level. So at, you know, grassroots level, we do have a lot of, you know, direct vote Okay, and also during the 18th National Congress of the CPC, so there are so many draft laws and so many millions of submissions have been made by those people. So people's voice could be heard by the the top. And also under the consultative democracy, we talk about the concept of pooling people's wisdom. Pooling people's wisdom. So the process of pooling people's wisdom is realized through various measures such as a feedback mechanism and pooling in China. And we do have a lot of a feedback mechanism. For example, in China, the media are government controlled or government led. But the media don't watch the government that closely like you watch corruption in a lot of free liberal media country. But like Xinhua News Agency, a lot of the news media in China, they do a sort of investigative reporting by do feedback sort of, news internal reference report. That report means if I'm a Xinhua News journalist, I have to go to, Pakistan. I find out that, you have the two bilateral relations have some problem. Like young people, they have, maybe increasing negative, perception towards China, what we can do. Then this kind of investigation will be done by news journalists. Reporters, then they will write internal report, and those reports will be handed over to the top. If the report with a solution very well written was taken, that report will be highly appreciated. So this kind of feedback mechanism cannot be seen in other countries. So our journalists do investigative report, but we don't expose problems just to increase the media itself's credibility or fame or fame. Instead, we work closely with the government as one family. It's just like you don't expose your grandmother's, shortcomings, your father's, bad behaviors in order for unity or solidarity of the country. So we say a society cannot be successful without a fundamental and overreaching consensus. So consensus is so important. So China, the whole process, people's democracy, the key word is serve interest of people. So that's why as the second largest economy of the world, China lifted successfully 800 million people out of poverty, absolute poverty. You don't know how hard the people work to do this. And even, when there is a natural disaster, people don't worry. They say the government definitely will come over to help me. So this is what, happening in China. And but actually, a lot of too many Western politicians seem to think that they think democracy for democracy, but I believe it is not. So the point of democracy is to serve people. It's not to vote. Okay, it's not for free media. Free media for what? Vote for what? And in China, we think to deliver better life should be the fundamental role for the whole process, democracy. That is also, agreed by a lot of international researchers. So in China, we really stress the social cohesion and inclusiveness and engagement instead of, media, free media polarize the country, and the media repeat negative story every day, make people feel pessimistic. So it's time for us to have a new look at CPC, China, Communist Party of China. So China as a ruling party, CPC is different from any, party in the liberal media system. If you think, okay, your party stayed on the stage for years, yeah, that's our political system. But that is not based on the, voting system or the liberal, democratic system. So that's why you have to fully understand, just like, the speaker, just as Professor Sachs just mentioned. In China, we have adopted this system for thousands of years. So CPC has a higher and a broader obligation to enhance the living standard and well-being of all Chinese people. That is, in China, we do have a, democracy. There is a process democracy, you understand that, and there's an outcome democracy. For liberal media system, for liberal democratic system, it's only process democracy. It seems you can vote, you can participate, but who guarantee the result? No, but you cannot. The voters cannot guarantee the result. But in China, the government the government has a strong will to promote the people's democracy. So we have a procedural, democracy and substantive, democracy. So we have a both direct and indirect democracy. So that's why I think we have to be very, very critical and creative. Understand democratic, dissatisfaction begins in a lot of Western countries. It's time for us to think about, whether we can. There is some other model, other approaches, alternative approach for democracy. Okay, so democracy. It's in China strive for national independence, country's prosperity, and the people's liberation and well-being. So this is what I'd like to share with you. I think it's really time for young people, especially nowadays, to rethink about what is democracy. Western liberal democracy does not equals to democracy. So there are many ways of a democracy, like in our family, there are many ways for our family life. There's no one single family life. So one single value of democracy or liberal, media system or liberal system should be reconsidered and revisited. And thank you very much.